All right, so the Diddy documentary is out. Almost everyone has seen it. Major publications are covering it. And for me, these are the biggest takeaway slash the aftermath of the Diddy documentary. The biggest one to me is this. We clearly see a timeline of events, of factual events that we grew up watching. So the documentary didn't really make anything up or really present too many new things that we didn't know. A lot of it we already knew. And even though the documentary has a really high level of journalistic integrity, which almost everybody is universally saying that it was a really good piece of work, a really good documentary. Diddy's legal team, even though Diddy's still behind bars, he still feels entitled and powerful enough to try and control the narrative. So his legal team is literally out here saying that this is a hit piece when the whole world has seen the documentary and can clearly see that this is nothing close to a hit piece. This is simply a well-organized presentation of factual events with a couple like new pieces of footage that we haven't seen. But I would say like 90% of the information presented, the general public pretty much knew or heard rumors about. And the fact that Diddy's team is out here calling this a hit piece is really sort of like an insight into how much power he thinks that he still has and how much influence he still has, where he thinks that he can gaslight the general public into thinking like, hey, even though you grew up watching all that stuff in real time and even though all that stuff is factual, that's a hit piece. Like, that's not real. Like, don't believe the facts. It's kind of frightening because it lends to the theory that even though he's behind bars, he might not have necessarily learned his lesson. He might, in his brain, he might think that he got away with one. And considering the last part of the documentary where they talk about how Diddy's team was using social media influencers and social media publications to push a narrative of Diddy being a victim, and how that online narrative potentially could have impacted the jurors. It's disturbing. It's extremely disturbing on multiple facets. It's disturbing to think that he's such a master marketer and master manipulator that his tactic of using online influence and online publications to create a narrative of him as a victim and blow it up to the point where like it's actually reaching the jurors and it's impacting their decision making. That's scary, and it's scary to think that he believes that even though he's behind bars and this cleanly made and clearly presented documentary has been made, that he thinks that he can just kind of gaslight everyone through legal statements like, oh, this was a hit piece, that he thinks that that's going to change all of our minds because he's such a great marketer. It's just extremely disturbing. And again, like I said, it just leads to the theory that maybe he hasn't learned his lesson, and when he comes out, he will potentially someday end up doing the same thing. In my opinion, when I think about that, I think about people like O.J. Simpson, who, when you feel like you got away, you keep doing, and you keep making the same mistakes. So to me, that's going to be an extremely interesting thing when Diddy comes out of jail, and he still has like 70 plus cases pending, but the fact that he still has a ton of money and he still feels like he's powerful enough to control the media and control the narrative. that's a dangerous combination. So that's something to look out for. Another big sort of like consequential thing from the documentary, I think, is the how we view his family and we view his, particularly his sons, throughout. Even before the documentary, his sons were kind of, I forget the one kid's, King Combs, was always viewed as like, oh, Diddy, little Diddy, or Diddy's twin protege or whatever. But in this Reckoning documentary, we see Quincy around a lot. They mention Diddy's mom's involvement from owning 75% of Bad Boy to the way she raised him and her connections in Harlem to gangsters and all that stuff. I think that's another sort of like aftermath of the documentary, is the fact that like it's not only Diddy, but like his whole family. Like his mom raised him is questionable. The way he's raising his kids or potentially groomed them is questionable. So I think there's going to be a lot of eyes, maybe not so much on the mom, but definitely on his kids, because I mean, they're active online. King Combs has made in the past a lot of questionable public statements. So I know the conversation right now is a lot on Diddy, but definitely his sons. I think a lot of the attention is also going to go towards them, because I think right now the narrative is that Diddy groomed them and they're going to be on the same trajectory as Diddy, especially considering the fact that they're probably likely to inherit all of his money. And then the third thing that I see a lot of publications talking about online is the Tupac versus Biggie. I know Mark Rodman made a video about it, and he's completely right. Like, the rumor mill has always been there about Diddy potentially taking both of them out. But again, with this documentary, it was just so well executed, and the timeline was so clearly presented that anybody could understand it. I think after this documentary, a lot of the public is of the mindset that, without a shadow of a doubt, allegedly, I have to say allegedly, Diddy probably had something to do with Tupac and Biggie, the Tupac and Biggie cases. And to me, one of the things that I think is going to be really, really, really sort of interesting for 2026 is the Tupac killing case, or I'm sorry, the Biggie killing case is going to come out, and the one guy, Keith, or whatever his name was, he's going to go on trial. And one of the big questions is I mean, I think at this point we pretty much know that Diddy's name is going to come up, but like, to what extent is it going to come? Is Diddy's name going to be presented in this case? So even though, for me personally, even though the documentary was only 4 parts and it did end with the current case and him being behind bars, this whole Diddy Reckoning thing is far from over. Far from over. His family is going to have to deal with the aftermath of the documentary and being put on blast. Diddy still has, once he gets out, he still has 70 plus pending cases, plus a 2026 case on the murder of Tupac and Biggie. He still, his public image took, even though he's trying to control the narrative, his public image took a big major hit. And in addition to all this, I think most of us conclude that he still feels powerful. He still feels in control. He still feels like he controlled the narrative. So there's no indication that a person of his caliber is just gonna sort of be steamrolled over. He's gonna fight all of these things once he comes out. I think that's pretty clear based on his track record. So I think it's safe to say that this story is far from over. There are some serious consequences that his family and he'll have to deal with because of this documentary. And considering that there's still very, very, very real litigation and court cases that are going to continue to happen even once he gets out of prison, this whole drama is just going to get crazier. It's just going to get crazier. And it'll be really interesting to see how the Combs family, and particularly Diddy, deal with everything once he gets out of jail. So stay tuned. Let me know what you thought of the documentary if you saw it, and peace out.